Hey, Brendan.
Hey Brad, how are you?
Doing great. I'm just going to get right into it. What has you waking up excited these days?
You start with the big questions. Why are we alive? Just the possibilities. I'm in a very privileged position. My job is, I work on some beautiful projects, and most of the time I'm just doing stuff for myself and selling my art and things. So each day, I guess I'm curious to know what it's going to hold, and that's why I get up because I don't know how the day's going to pan out. I don't know if I'm working on something, maybe a difficult problem. Am I going to be able to solve it today? Usually, when you go to bed and you wake up in the morning, you go, ha, I'm missing semicolon, you idiot, or something like that. So I'm a very much a seizing the day, living in the now. So that's what drives me really. And like I said, I'm in a very privileged opportunity to position to work with people that are smarter than me and more talented than me. I can learn from them. And that's what I want to do. One of my favorite quotes is Larry King, who said, I never learned anything whilst I was talking.
Yeah.
And I know I'm going to be talking on this thing, so it's ironic. But for me, it's about taking time, pausing and listening. I want to be present to just listen to other people and new ideas and be challenged on things. So, yeah, that's why I get up.
That's beautiful. You've already covered so many things. It sounds like you've created the conditions by which you are able to be directed at creative opportunity and being comfortable with the unknown of what comes through that process, and to realize that your brain is doing something overnight that then allows you to wake up the next day, do it all again.
Yeah.
And you're listening for signals through your own intuition and instincts, but also through the collaborations you have with others with different and more complementary skill sets.
Yeah.
And it's not a smarter thing. I'm sure that they would say the same thing about you. Allow that in, Brendan, at the very least.
Yeah, maybe. But I'm just trying to improve every day. I don't get complacent about what I'm doing or how I'm doing it. And I just want to constantly learn new things. I have this idea that there's the things which are like this, imagine a sort of messy circle. On the
Yeah.
outside of that are all the things you don't know. And both of those things are expanding or they should expand. The outer one is obviously infinite. But you want to
Yeah.
position yourself as a creative person. You don't want to be bang in the middle of all the things you know. That's really boring, right? So you want to be on the edge, on the event horizon of the things you do know and the things you don't know. That's constantly expanding. That's where I position myself. I want to do things I don't know how to do. I guess that's what drives me each morning when I wake up.
Yeah.
It's to go, okay, what can I learn today and what don't I know? The other thing is, I just encourage people to read. Put down the pocket sadness machines and swap that rectangle for an analogy papery one and read lots of stuff, fiction, non-fiction, things you don't know about, things you don't think you're interested in. The more input you've got going on in your head, the better you're going to be as a creative person or as a person generally. And so I'm constantly trying to just give myself strategies to try and just push myself even more.
You just described one of the main reasons I wanted to talk to you in this moment with the technology paradigm shifting and everyone is scared shitless.
Mhm.
There are people like you who I think about often who, and you described it so well, just that those rings of where you're at, where what's comfortable and the stuff it being too close to the center is that comfort. It's not just boring, it's risky and increasingly so.
Mm.
What I see a lot is a lot of folks in that center of the circle of what they've already known, and that is being radically disrupted right now. What you're describing is this process and these things that you can do and teach yourself and train yourself to do is to really embrace the comfort of the unknown or get more comfortable being uncomfortable in order to do useful things with it. I come from a certain lens of creative professional that I'm around a lot. And I think that there's been a lot of those, what we could call, capital C creativity has been just totally absent and not encouraged for a very long time.
Yeah.
And it's been the focus has been on the center of that known circle. It's like, how could we point you at this thing that is known and quantifiable and reproducible? And how do we just keep you there and punching out the widgets?
Yeah.
And it's depressing. And that's all been burned to a crisp seemingly overnight, and everyone's freaking out about it. So I think that you starting to describe these kind of things that you could do to start to allow that in, process the fear, but ultimately harness it, move past it, and get closer to that outer edge of that circle. Is like,
yeah, definitely. First of all, you realize that evolution wasn't about survival of the fittest, Darwin. It was about adaptation. So the things survived because they could adapt, right? It wasn't about who was strongest. And I'm summarizing that. But I've seen it in the past where during the Flash days, people would say, I'm a Flash designer, or a certain database type things. They were confusing people. And I thought, that thing's going to die eventually. And then what are you going to call yourself?
Yeah.
And so people, but I just say, though, I totally get it, because for a long time, pays the bills. Money coming in, you got to feed the family.
Yeah.
You got to do all that. And that's what you got to do. But things change. Nothing persists. So you've got to be able to adapt. And if you aren't adaptable, then you're going to struggle. And then you're going to start to hit out on the changes. So let's take the reason I really loved the Creative Infinite thing you did. The little, was it a talk or an essay or a thesis? I don't know. But it was
I don't know.
It was really resonated with me, because you were taking a very curious approach to this new technology, rather than a lot of people are just, we live in a very polarized culture now, an extreme culture where it's black or white. There's no nuance.
Yeah.
Where you would take its approach of going, hang on a minute, this thing's interesting and we need to explore it. There are problems. We know there are problems, but let's not just throw it out on it. So I really love that approach. But this is nothing new, right? With technology, as we all know. So there's a great book that's all about the use of machines and music. I'll have to dig it up. I can't remember what the name of it was, but it talks about how when electric microphones were invented, there was like headlines in newspapers and commentary about it's cheating, right? Which seems so insane right now. But at the time when you sang, you had to project your voice, right? Be loud and before microphones. People like Sinatra, Billie Holiday, Julie London, people like that, they realized that, hang on a minute, I could speak in a more intimate way. So weirdly, the technology of an electric microphone made them more human. And it was certain people who realized that and thought, I can work with this tool and understand it and become an expert in it. And that's what they did. And then, of course, now you couldn't imagine a vocal performance not being intimate or however we want to speak because of technology.
Yeah.
So that's just one example, and there's loads like that. So it's nothing new, the whole AI thing. I just don't like reactionary opinions. It's not critical thinking for me. It's just extremism either way.
Yeah.
So, that's why I really resonated with what you were saying in that video you did.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I think you're right. When new things come along, and you said the word is curiosity, to be able to be curious about something. Well, also, I think that what we've been talking about with AI so specifically that I don't know was true with previous generations of technologies, whether it be that Flash or just advancements in the web or some other creative technology or music gear or whatever. It's like, it is important because there's a lot of like gross shit built into the foundations of like how the stuff even came into being.
Absolutely.
That is, once again, worth acknowledging, and it's worth unpacking. Those aspects of it should be rejected and unequivocally condemned, and we should figure out the ways to mitigate the harms and offset all of that. But at the same time, it is here, and the fact that we could just kind of pull some shit out of the ether and have it in front of us in order to guide or facilitate this process. And that's just speaking creatively. And then you're like talking about the real stuff of it's, okay, human eyes can only get so good at detecting certain things. And so if you like supercharge this stuff in the doctor's office, like you're going to save a lot more people. So you have to be able to live in that nuanced, like gray area. But also I've seen you in these different programs, programming languages, things. Give a guess at how many different languages or software tools, like we'll set aside even like the physical world, but like give a guess, like how many of those things have you learned, forgotten, touched, has been on your computer and not been on your computer?
I don't know, 30, 40, I don't know. It's some of them. And by the way, learned, that's open for interpretation. But I don't know, 30 or 40 or something. Amazing. They come and go, and then you stick to various ones because some of them are just so flexible in how they're made, like all great languages. I still love a text file. I think a text file is a beautiful thing, right? So there's that. But the whole idea of Unix, where you can pipe a simple thing into another thing, we have this pipe command, which is really how a lot of sort of node-based, like Touch Designer behind me there, how you link things up. It really comes from that thinking of like, it's just a thing that makes text go big, right? And then you pipe that into another thing. So you think in a very modular way. So Unix really, from the off, was that where you could pipe an output into another input and keep going. And that is a very powerful concept. So I've always drifted to visual software that allows me to do that. But the power, of course, is where you're combining things that are command line and then maybe some C++ or JavaScript or whatever it is. It's the power is in the combinations of those things. And often my projects, so I've got, this is just, it wasn't ready as a prop, by the way. I did this newspaper. So that's my GitHub repo for my website. But then what I did, this is like a 25th anniversary broadsheet newspaper I did. So I used my API on my website to make a page for each project, but it's all very abstract. So these sculptures are made algorithmically from the project title. And then I used a local LLM to make a haiku for each project. And then typographically screw it up. But there's about 5 different programs working together to come together to make that. And then I even wrote a command line thing because it spat out these PDFs, but because they had to be done in a certain way, so the margin was on the right side. I then wanted to randomize it, but also allow for it to be on the right page. So I wrote it was then a command line script to actually take all these PDFs I did and put them in the right order, but randomly. So all those things, that's just an example of 5 or 6 pieces of software coming together to make one thing, right? Yeah.
It's just so demonstrative of this moment, because historically you had to jump into the fray to learn those 5 or 6. Here's my prop, and I was only showing this earlier in that this is like what we're talking about, I think, a little bit now is, yes, this thing flows into this thing, this thing flows into this thing, and this thing flows into this thing. But then around it now is just this thing that just goes, I want to do this. Make a newsletter that rips this stuff down, does this stuff, randomizes it, reassembles it in this way, chops it up, tears it apart again, and then sends it to the printer.
Yeah.
And it will do it. And it'll just do it. And you're like, what? Okay. And it'll screw it up along the way. And that's where I think like your deep knowledge of being the closer you are to those materials, you're able to work with them in a more sophisticated way. And I find that stuff with what I do, like web stuff,
Yeah.
like I'm able to speak the language a little bit more. And so it gets to the end result a little bit faster. But I notice myself attempting things that I wouldn't have otherwise dreamed of because it was off limits to me. I was like, no, I can't do that type of back end development. I know enough to be dangerous, but just even conceptually, less of a fear thing and more of there ain't no time for it. But
Yeah.
now there is. Just do it.
Yeah. Amazing. You're just being more creative. You haven't got that fear as such. And you do learn from
Yeah.
those processes as well. You go, oh, right, that's how that works. Let me delve into that a bit deeper. And that's what you do. But like you said, you often have to, if you're using AI and things, you often have to fix these things yourself because you think, yeah, that's not going to work. And then, so you still need some knowledge for sure.
Yeah. But above all, and I think what you're describing, because that newspaper, was that the fully formed vision when you started the process, or did it morph over the process of doing it?
It came out, it came out of, there's this service, the newspaper club, which they can print newspapers. So the idea came from that. And I just thought, I want to do it. And it was 25 years last year of having my website. So I did a few things.
Beautiful.
Thing that I did, a plotter. I sold quite a lot of those. But you could buy one and each one was unique to you. And it was made off a 5x5 grid. So it's 25. Yeah, but it generatively plotted these and they're always different. That's the point. So I did that. And then I thought, there's this newspaper thing and I could do like a kind of look back. But rather than just doing here's this project, I wanted to create something new from a thing. I think that the thing is as well, because my website runs on Kirby, and it already had a back-end API that spits out JSON of every project. And I thought, the data's there. So, this beautiful thing of interpretability, you can just glue these things together. Oh, JSON can talk to Touch Designer and blah, 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 blah. So it's just, then it grew really. It grew from, there was lots of different layouts. And now I wish I'd done other things with it. Hey,
That's it. That's it. Yeah. It exists and it didn't before. Right.
Yeah.
And it really is like, here's input, here's this thing and this thing. So what if we just take these two objects and glue them together?
Yeah. Because the things,
what could we do?
It's web. That's a website. That's all from a web. That content is all from a website content.
Yeah.
Only exists because it's the website.
It's just like demonstrating that true fluidity that I think is evasive for people to understand. In my neck of the woods, I work in the realm of like design systems and stuff, and often thought of and operated as a constraining function in a lot of ways. It is like, but at the same time, it's like the way that the kind of digital world has been built, it has led to this just very, again, these skills are atrophied, or there's not the room to do that kind of dreaming. And so what we see is a bunch of people, as here comes this new technology that's taken away what people have been doing with their hands, assembling these things together manually. And that's what people like think of as their creative gifts. And that gets ripped away from them, and it's an existential crisis. And that was never your gift in the first place. Like your gift is your ability to dream and sort of say, what if? Yeah.
Yeah. You've always got to remember, no AI has ever woken up and said, I think I'll just stare out the window for 5 minutes. No AI has ever said that, ever, right? Because it can't. It doesn't even know what a bloody window is. So it doesn't even know we exist, by the way. Doesn't even know the world exists. By itself, I'm not saying someone programmed it to think that. I'm saying by itself, it's never woken up and thought, I'll just daydream. So you've got to hold on to that thought, right?
If you had to tell some of these people I'm alluding to, again, I've spent a lot of time just sweating the details of the mechanics and the construction of some of these things, that there's this that it's the narrow focus, and that's where their
Mhm.
worth and their value at the expense of that sort of broader thing. Like, what advice you got for them?
I don't know if I'm the right person, but I'm coming at it from I'm not in the coalface in a corporate system.
Yeah.
That's not the world that I inhabit. So I wouldn't deem to give them any kind of advice from that point of view. We might talk about Brian Eno in a bit, but in that film, one of the lines that resonated with me was when he was working with synthesizers in the early days, he realized when he was twiddling knobs and things, because he says himself he can't
Yeah.
play keyboards or anything. He can't read music,
Hmm.
but he can twiddle knobs, right? And he said, I realized it was less about skill and more about judgment. And I thought, hallelujah, that's it. When you build like a generative system and it's doing its thing, you think, I've just plugged that into there and then it does this amazing thing, right? So this maybe you think that's a bit of guilt because I can bang out this thing I've got behind me now. I can bang out a million posters while we're sat here if we want.
Yep.
Um, but then they're not a million great posters. There's like
Yeah.
maybe two. So then I'm using
Yeah.
my judgment, my taste. So I think that is the area we're moving into. It's about curation, it's
Yep.
about judgment, it's about taste. I think there
Yeah.
will always be skills needed, of course, but a lot of that stuff is going to be increasingly automated for sure. So,
Yeah.
yeah, you're going to need to have to look at what you're doing in a more holistic way. And like you said, Brad, maybe that the chamfering of the thing is not the thing. It's like more of the vision thing. But it's a
Yeah.
difficult look. It's a difficult one. I'm someone who loves beautifully made shoes, and which takes weeks to make. I like them because of the craft that goes into them, the human
Yeah.
crafts. So I'm a kind of like contradiction with the kind of things that I love. But right now, no AI is going to make, and the thing is, shoes have been automated, haven't they? Most shoes are made in a factory
Totally.
process.
Totally.
But there's still a place I can go where if you want to pay the money, you can get shoes that are made
Yep.
in the old way.
Yep.
So maybe it'll move to more luxury and you go, oh, this website's been beautifully handmade. And it's like a niche thing.
Yeah. Yeah. In many respects that's all right. But at the same time, it could be none of those things. It could be one of
Yeah.
those things and all of those things all at once. And
Yeah.
I think that's the struggle of it having this conversation so often where it's like we're used to, I think, making these kind of linear jumps to things, right? Oh, here's Flash.
Yeah.
Steve Jobs killed Flash.
Yeah.
No longer, but we're gonna migrate into this canvas or just good old fashioned web standards. Or I had this car, I traded it in for a new one,
Yeah.
or oh, I switched from an Android phone to an iPhone. And that's the kinds of things that I think that our heads we're able to get around. Like we get our heads around that type of advancement, right? The faster horses, I should say.
Yeah.
And it's really this idea of crossing a threshold into going, "Oh, this isn't going from one to another one. This is going from a one to a many
Yeah.
thing." And that's the thing that I think is still sinking in for myself. And certainly I think for all of us, that it's this, wait a minute, like I could quite literally say, I want to make a thing about Brendan Dawes. And I want you to create this as a movie, a play, a novel, a website, a printed piece, like a poster, a series of images, a flip book, a matchbook, and you can do it.
Yeah.
And you can do it. That still is sinking in for me personally, because I'm just like, I don't, and like you said with the generative like posters, it's like, is any of that going to be good? The answer is no, absolutely not. But from that stance of the creative infinite of just going like, I never thought that I would be able to go near writing an opera. No, and I'm not going to, by the way, but to even just imagine that it's, oh, I now like actually have more of a chance at doing that. If that was something that was interesting to me, I could pursue that in a way that I don't know if I would be able to.
Yeah.
It's very fascinating.
Yeah. One of the things you have to watch out for with any of this stuff is that you got to remember that it's averaging everything out, but that's how it works. It gets all this input, all this massive data, and then it creates an average. So the stuff that it's making, whether it's writing or
Is
making,
average.
it's just average. It's not going to.
Yeah.
That said, the thing I cling on to is that when AlphaGo beat Lee Sedol, the Go champion, a few years ago now, and it beat him 4 out of 5 times. The other one was a draw. So what happened was there was this move 37, I think it was, in one of the games, and it was a move that was so ridiculous, no human being would have done it. And it laid it down, and everyone was like, "What the heck? This is crazy!" And it won the game. And so that move is now called the divine move. That's where I think the promise of all this is. Things like that. To suddenly go, what? Bam! Here's something new, right? It's not that it beat him, it was the fact that it threw this move down. And so one of the commentators said, maybe that is a promise of this technology, maybe it can show us something new, I think he said. That's quite exciting, along with all the problems. The thing that really scared me after that, it was Alpha Zero, it was called. So AlphaGo was trained on thousands of games, right? Alpha Zero was given the rules. And it became the best player of Go in 48 hours. It was just rules. It wasn't trained on any games. And no one's talking about that. That's war games level. It just went.
Yeah. And that's the big divide between all of the paradigm shifts before it, the faster horse into automobiles, right? You had to slog through the world and put all of that infrastructure in place. That takes generations, and there is obviously the first time somebody saw a Model T, I'm sure that their minds were freaking blown and all of that stuff. But then the time that person saw that Model T for the first time to the time that it like really shifted how people live their lives, there's some pretty serious time there. So you talking about that now that we're unmoored from the world of atoms and this stuff can just progress on its own in this scarily fast pace like that I share that, right? Like, wait a minute, like, whoa. By the time we're getting up and staring out that window for 5 minutes, that thing just quadrupled. It's freaking
I know.
Extinguished.
It's crazy. I know.
I also think, though, this comes back to what you're describing as far as like taste and judgment and all of that stuff. We need to collectively, as a society, get to what is our judgment. And I like that kind of stuff. And that, frankly, like ultimately, this stuff can only impact society at the pace that our brains and machinery can do something with it. In certain realms, you could just see it like light years ahead, but then in other realms, like from once it like enters back into the world of atoms or the world of human systems, let's say, those are the breaks, perhaps. Who the fuck knows?
But no, it never really pans out how you think. You know, if you look at George Orwell wrote about obviously the weird burning books or books would be banned, but that it was more the Aldous Huxley model that it wasn't the books were banned. No one wanted to read. That was the thing. It wasn't the government banned books. People just didn't want to read anymore. And that's what's coming to pass, depending on what survey you read. But and the cameras aren't the government cameras. We are our own surveillance. So it depends which science fiction books you read is which way it's gonna go. It's not laid out in concrete, that's for sure.
It does what you're describing there, and like what I'm seeing with all of this, and I've described it already, I think, a couple times, of this kind of like atrophy of creativity in general. It's like my mom's an art teacher and went to just kind of whatever liberal arts college kind of thing, and that stuff has been so devalued for so long across society in general, and certainly in America, but lots and lots of places, right? Like we try to sneak that A into STEM. It's, we'll turn it into STEAM, and it works half the time, but not really. And you get what you're picking at here and what you've said a couple times already, which is just freaking books
Yeah.
and philosophy and expression and goodness and beauty
Yeah.
and aesthetics and just what's it all for. And I think that there's just been so much of the overpowering desire to focus on the machinery that runs an economy,
Yeah.
right? That it's just what's it all
Yeah.
for? What's it all for? And it's absolutely, positively possible to create the machine that sure does all of that mechanical stuff that makes the line go up and to the right,
Yeah.
while also taking care of people and while also like delivering beauty and goodness and all of that. I fundamentally reject any inkling of, oh, it has to be
Yeah.
this one
Yeah.
or the other kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I don't know, as the mechanics again is going down to zero, my hope is that it opens the door for more of us to reconnect with the humanities, with arts, with expression, with like, with, yeah, who's it? Is it Milton Keynes? Or like economists like back in like the turn of like the Industrial Revolution as, yes, we're all going to be sitting here with 90% more free time
Never happened.
and we are going
Yeah.
to,
Yeah.
yeah, and it did pan out, but we're at another one of those moments.
Yeah.
And again, there's nothing like technically stopping that from actually being the case. But the question is, how do we create the conditions by which we have a machine that just prints money and takes care of everybody, and then we're able to like
Yeah. This is it.
do all of that?
It may come down to universal income and all those discussions. And yeah, you need to rip it all up and start again, really. But with capitalism is such a huge force, that's the system we're in. And
Yeah,
we've seen how quickly it can collapse very quickly. There wasn't many things nice about COVID, but what was surprising to many was we didn't all go out in the street and start killing each other. We actually did the opposite.
yep,
We all helped each other.
yep,
There was lots of
yep,
commentators at the time who were like,
yep,
"Oh, this is going to be terrible." And actually, the opposite happened. It was like, "Oh, hang on, people are helping each other. This is amazing." So it
yeah,
can
yeah,
happen, but and then of course we just went back to how it was.
yeah.
But
At the end of the day, human nature is human
yeah,
nature, and we're going to learn and continue
yeah,
learning the hard ways of these
exactly.
things that will always
Yeah,
exist. But my hope is that there will be more room for us to at least contemplate a world where not everybody is struggling as hard as they are. And I think that you're right. Yeah, like things like universal basic income and like other tactics and stuff like that, but also just like from like a job
yeah,
perspective. There is a great book called Bullshit Jobs. Have you
no,
ever like heard of this? Oh, it's fantastic. And the definition of bullshit job is like a job that the person performing that job describes as bullshit.
right.
Meaning
Yeah,
like this job should not
yeah,
exist,
yeah,
right? This is drudgery. This is the bureaucrat, the person who is processing whether or not someone should receive welfare
right.
or not.
Yeah, yeah,
They're like, if I wasn't in their way, that would actually create the conditions by which anybody that was asking for that extra relief would get. And so it's like my job is actually preventing better outcomes from happening.
yeah,
And I think that there's a whole lot of that. So much of the stuff that I witness, even in and around like the creative field, but a lot of times the creative field through a lens of a big machine, there's so much room to just not have it feel like such a damn slog. How can you inject a bit of joy, inject a bit of fun, inject a bit of dreaming, of imagination, of humanity, like kind of like a bass guitar background here, right? I've worked with clients who've worked with each other for years, and they like get on a call with me, like an outsider, and they're like, "Oh, that's a nice Rickenbacker bass."
yeah,
And then I'm like, "Oh, you play?" And then their colleagues are like, "Oh, I didn't know you played." And it's just it's a tragedy,
yeah,
right? And it's because we're
yeah,
doing these things. Look at my hands, they're busy. Look at the toil, look at
yeah,
all of that. And it's just, man, what might it look like
yeah,
if we just like just brought just even move that, turn that knob up, twiddle that knob,
yeah,
Brian,
yeah, yeah,
like, like 5% more.
yeah,
Just inject a little bit of pulse and inject a little bit of humanity
yeah, absolutely.
like back into the equation and more time on our hands.
That's the dream.
Still,
Yeah.
yeah. We'll see how it pans out, but we've been doing some really cool stuff in like just trying to build like more community and stuff and just like create more space for that just as an extension of
Yeah.
just trying to because hey, we're all gonna do some stuff that's like useful like for your job. But then we're also gonna talk about pets and music, funny stuff
Yeah.
and movies and
Brilliant.
the rest of it. And
Yeah.
it's just yeah, it's totally possible.
Called
Again,
being
it's
human.
like all of this is possible.
Yeah. Being
Yeah.
human, basically. Yeah.
So can I tell like the Eno story? So my wife and I were watching this. I've been trying to watch it forever, and I'm like, this damn movie, like I can't just watch it.
Yeah.
It's like these screenings in like these theaters and
Yeah.
these cities that I don't live in. I'm in Pittsburgh, and I'm like, ah. And so like finally it popped up where oh yeah, I could rent it. So my wife and I were watching it, and just incredible, just utterly incredible, and it's just hitting all of my boxes and
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah.
So I'm just like freaking bawling at the end. And it's yeah, directed by Gary. And then there's this, and then I can't remember what your credit was, but I saw your name jump out on the screen, and I like
Yeah.
screamed.
Yeah. Yeah. I was.
That is so cool.
Yeah, it was like 5 years of my life, really. And it's still, me and Gary have a company off the back of that now, and we're working on loads of really amazing projects. But yeah, it was, I basically made the software so the film is different every time. And we did that. We started it in 2019. I've known Gary since 2007. I met him at a South by Southwest. We were on a panel together.
Yeah.
And through a mutual friend, and became friends, and we always wanted to work together. And we discussed various things over the years, but I think in 2019 he emailed me to say, I've got this idea for a film that is never the same twice. Nothing to do with Brian Eno, by the way, at this point. And he said, do you think it's possible? And I said, yeah, don't know how, but let's try it.
Yeah.
So we used, he'd just done the film about Dieter Rams, the industrial designer legend.
Mhm. Which is all,
Yeah.
that's great.
Bit more serious vibe on that one. So we were using the footage and trying to make a system that made a film dynamically. And of course, Brian Eno had done the soundtrack for that movie. So Gary had gone to Brian and said, can we do a documentary? No one's done a proper full feature-length documentary. Can I do one on you? And he just said no. He said, I'm not interested. I don't want to talk about the past or that kind of stuff. So Gary went away, and then he came to me and with this idea. And then as we were developing it, Gary said, I want to take this to Eno and show him and see if he'll do the documentary. So we did a demo, and he had a meeting with Brian in the UK, and he just said, yeah, this is amazing. This is the kind of thing that I want to do. It's because there's not one story, is there, of a person? Then COVID hit, but we're starting to get the footage together. And and it came out at Sundance in 2024. It premiered there in January 2024. I'd never been to Sundance. I actually tell a lie, I had once done an installation there, but never shown a film there. Yeah, it was amazing. It was mind-blowing. We actually opened Sundance that year. And then it was just a year of touring it around the world, and eventually we would do it live. We contacted Teenage Engineering in Sweden, and they built a machine for it with my software in it. And that was amazing. Premiered all over the world and traveled. Gary went everywhere. I did the New York one and did a lot of European ones. We did it live, so we generated the film in real time. So we didn't know what was going to happen. And yeah, we had just an amazing adventure, really. And then, of course, it all culminated in, it was shortlisted for an Academy Award. We didn't make the final nominations, but we were in the last 15, which was amazing. So yeah, it was crazy. And now it's gone on. Me and Gary now have a company, Animorph. We're working on projects that I'm not allowed to tell you what they are, but they're like huge. We got, when it all came out, and everyone was writing about us, we got inundated with projects and some just
shit ones. Yeah.
Just like really weird. And we only wanted to work on stuff we wanted to made us get up in the morning. So that's
Yeah.
and that's where we're at now. You're working on these various projects, which you'll eventually see. But so a lot of my time is spent doing that. But yeah, no, it's been cool. One of the lessons is you just don't know who you're going to meet and where it's going to go. I met
Yeah.
Gary
Yeah.
at South by, but it took 12 years
Yeah.
for something to happen. But when I've been on these premieres and we're at the Barbican sold out 2,000-seater theatre, I'm on stage with Brian Eno, I'm thinking, how is this? What is going on? This is nuts. And so it's been fun. It's been really amazing. Yeah. And also the reaction like you to the film is the real reward for me.
Like there is like my genuine reaction to the effects of the film, but then to testament to what you just said, I'm like, I know Brendan. I've watched the Super Bowl with you. I've had beers with you, like in the UK, like many years ago, and we've had conversations. I know that guy. It's amazing. You touched on why the enduring legacy of the web, right? And this is something that I've been like really eager and keen to remind people of. And South by Southwest was right, like that the web in embodied form, at least for many years, right? Before it kind of the QR code business cards took over. But that spirit, right, is that ultimately here are human beings scattered across the globe, people with ideas, people with complementary skill sets, people that are all hungry and interested and curious to do interesting work. And you get together in person, and you're like, they're freaking great. That was a blast. That was a lot of fun. Let's keep in touch. And then fast forward.
Yeah.
There's something really potent to that I don't think was quite as possible before the advent of the web.
Yeah. No, you're right. It was, absolutely. It was the whole Flash scene. A lot of the people that were in that scene, they've gone on to do other companies. They're now embedded in huge companies or they've gone on to do other things.
Yeah.
That time, when you think back at it, it wasn't about money. It was just about trying to make cool stuff and see where it can go. And the same with the web industry, exactly the same. We were experimenting with all the crazy websites but also, like you said, when you got together I remember the first Flash conference, and it was blowing my mind. There was these people that I'd only knew as usernames, and suddenly you're in a bar with them or you're having these conversations and you realize that they're really cool and you want to hang out with them and stuff. And then you come back home and you're deflated and you get that post-conference, God, I just want to be at South by all the time. But I think it was like a renaissance for sure. I'm sure that's what Paris felt like in the 30s or whatever. It was like that, but it was just more distributed. It wasn't about a physical city. Because I didn't even live in London and I still don't. But that's the beauty of the web. I've had emails, I'm sure you get emails as well. People don't know where you are. I've had emails from people who think I'm 18-year-old and live in New York or something. It's like, because no, you're anonymous, aren't you? You're just a username or you're just a website and look you up.
Yeah.
But that's one of the great things about it. But the other thing I would say though is that you've got to embrace those possibilities. I could have said to Gary, I don't know, Gary, not sure. It sounds a bit weird and I'm a bit busy. It's like, I just replied yes, like immediately. Just, no, I didn't even think whether it was possible. Didn't care, to be honest. I was like, there's got to be some way of doing this. And it's always fascinating, isn't it? I was thinking about this the other day, and I think it's like anything where something is built off of, and imagine architects is like just blows your mind when you stood and there's a building especially when it's being made and thousands of people are hammering away in a building. And you think, God, that started out as a sketch or
that was a shower thought.
It's those kind of things. And the same with whether the websites you've built or they've all just started as a conversation or an email. So it's the same thing. So that still continually blows my mind. It's like, how did we get here? And then here's the other thing as well. People look at the thing you've made as like this thing, right? This giant, and it's got all these moving parts. So quite rightly, they go, how did you do this? And of course, you didn't just go there. It just appeared. Maybe we've just been talking about you probably can do that these days. But they're all little parts that get joined together that,
Yes.
it's not like you just go make a generative film.
Yeah.
But I get why they just see the entire thing, don't they? They don't see all the parts that make it up.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I think like what you're touching on there and what you said earlier about how these new tools are averages
Yeah.
and that time is is the way out of
Yeah.
average, I think, effectively. It's like the time plus craft plus
Yeah.
judgment, the other thing.
And
It's
also
is this like,
people as well. We're collaborating. Yeah.
well, yeah, you invoking like teenage,
Yeah.
so you're already fully stacked, and then it's like,
Yeah.
sure, let's pull in those people. Can you talk a little bit about that sort of creative collaboration, especially across different mediums, across different intellectual planes, and levels of deep expertise that no doubt you're all showing up with a great deal of respect for
Yeah.
one another. Like, how does that play out in actual partnership? Because you're all ostensibly in the muck together, and it's like you're trying to learn, feel each other out, honor their expertise, but also play your part. Can you speak to that?
Sure. Yeah. I think, first of all, you don't want to be surrounded by people you just agree with, because that's just a terrible position. That's just sycophancy. And we've seen the guy in the white.
What that does.
But that gets us.
We all know where that goes. Yes.
So you want to be challenged and you want people to push you that you're working with. I think that's one of the core things of collaboration. But from my point of view, I want them to be good. I don't want to worry about whether they can do it. And
that's weird.
That doesn't mean that doesn't mean you don't want room for failure. You absolutely do. I'm not saying that, but you want people to know what they're doing. And you're trying to work with people who are at the top of their game, because then you learn things as well. But I find with a collaborative process, you have disagreements, but if you respect each other, you don't take those things personally. Oftentimes you think, I don't agree with that. And then a day later you go, yeah, they were right. But now think about it, because what they're doing is they're giving you a different lens to see something. You've got your lens and your biases, and you're often so locked in on, it's got to be blue. It's got to be blue. It's not going to be any other color. And then they go, have we tried it pink? And you, what are you talking about? And then you go, actually, that looks quite good. So things are, but also you realize that there can be a lot of great problem solving. We had a lot of things to fix and solve. And I love just discussing with intelligent, clever people. You just get into the weeds of it, and it's, oh God, it's so good. You're not making anything. You're just talking about the detail. The detail of it is the thing. Charles Eames had this thing, like, the detail isn't just the detail, it makes the product, which I'm sure we've all heard before, but all these details matter. And when you start discussing those things with other people, like, it's just the best. It's just, as I'm sure you know, and I know your stuff, on all that stuff, amazing. I think it just comes from a point of respect, but you also have a shared vision. So that's important. If you all have different, I think it should be this and that. You still have to have the central goal, I think. You have to have an emotional compass to head to. If you're not all going there, then you get mutiny and then things fall apart, which is why companies break apart and startups fail and stuff like that. Because often the founders go, I didn't want this. And the relationship side, over time, you learn each other's habits, idiosyncrasies. We were doing a thing in Venice, me and Gary, before the film came out. It was another installation we did. And we were sharing a place in Venice. And Gary got up at breakfast and he walked past my room and he went, have you made your bed? I went, yeah, of course I have. And so that was like, for me, I'm very organized, right? So I can't work without shoes on. That's just me, right? I'm weird. And Gary's not like that, right? So he just gets up and gets on with it. Or I'm like, getting the corners straight. And but his desktop is like an explosion has gone off in an icon factory. And I'm like, oh my God. And when he opens his laptop, he says, no, don't look. But it works for him. And
Right.
that's his process. It
Yeah.
works. My
Yep.
process is not that. I'm very organized. So in that kind
And then in between is the marriage, is the
exactly, you need,
feeling out,
yeah,
is the
you've got the tension between the two, and you need that. I'm like here
yes.
and he's there. We still have the same goal, but we work in different ways, but then it comes together. So
Yeah.
yeah, I think you need that
Yeah.
tension.
I think so. I'm also curious because you did also say it, maybe even at the top, you're like, oh yeah, I do a fair amount of things like that are on my
Yeah.
own. So you're still able to exercise your full instincts and just operate like without really any friction. But then there are other moments where that friction is welcome and helps you grow
Yeah.
as well. And I see that a lot playing music.
Yeah.
There's just so much that it's just, I just need to go and I will just get to it
Yeah.
and play. And that is that. And that is the act. And that is like what my body, my soul is just like, you need to do this now.
Yeah.
Go do it. And then I do it. And I'm like, that was needed.
Yeah.
And then there's playing with other people, which
Yeah.
arise at that relationship that you're describing.
Yeah.
And those are where you go, I would have never in a million years
Yeah.
played this on my own. In no universe would I have gotten anywhere close to this.
Yeah.
I specifically remember one time I have these like start calling it frosty nights where we just local musicians, some friends that we met, just good people come over to my basement and we just like have a jam
Yeah.
session. That's it. That's the entire night.
Yeah.
There's no agenda. There's just come over, we play music. And I'll never forget, like, it was the first one of those that we did. And I was like behind the drum kit. Usually my brother's playing drums, but I was playing drums. And I was like, what? I, no, I don't, I didn't know I could do this, first of all.
Right.
But second of all, this is so not my style at all, but it worked.
Yeah.
But it freaking worked. And I was like, oh, that was amazing. And then that's something you suddenly know about you.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. You go somewhere.
And take that back into your own world, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's it. That's one of the
That's it.
great things. They show you, like I said, it's a different lens to see things. And you go, oh, that's quite cool. Let's like you say, I'll have a bit of that. Yeah, why not? Yeah. So
Yeah. And I always understood the real sentiment behind great artist steal. Like, I get it, but it's like, I've just still never liked that terminology for it. Really, it's a transmission, it's a sharing, it's a continuation
yeah.
versus theft. It is like, it feels like additive rather
Yeah.
than something is being taken away.
Yeah. The steel thing suggests that you're going to use it verbatim, and you don't do that, do you? Inspiration.
You can't. You're a different
Yeah.
mind. You're a different body. Yeah.
It becomes fuzzy. I think inspiration, it goes in your head, but the memory of it is clouded. And then all these other things stick onto it, which is you and your own idiosyncrasies, and it comes out. But somewhere in there is that thing you saw. Yeah. For sure.
Yeah. It's beautiful. Have you ever been upset by someone commodifying your work
No,
or like doing anything?
I get quite a few times a year, I get, like when I did the Cinema Redux thing, which was the movie, and it was the rows of 60 frames a second, 60 frames, and each row is 1 minute of film time, and it does the entire film, and that was really successful
good.
for me.
So good.
Yeah, but the thing is with that, you could code it in 5 minutes, less with AI. So it was dead simple, which was one of the points of it, really. But the other point was the data wasn't abstracted. What you saw was the data, which someone pointed out to me afterwards. And I was like, anyway, well, people do copy it. And I get emails from, oh, this he's ripped you off. And I go, yeah, I've put that idea out into the world. It's done really well for me. It's made me money. It's led to lots of opportunities. Let them. I think it's dangerous if you hold on to one idea and think this is mine.
Yeah.
And I'm going to sue anyone who comes at me. Obviously, you need patents for if you've got a company and those kind of things, that they're commercial decisions. But with art and stuff, it's where do you draw the line? Because someone could say to me, doing sequence of images was done blah, blah. I don't know.
Yeah.
Probably was. But yeah, so I just write back to these people and go, it's fine. Don't worry. Let them play with it. It's
Yeah.
not rocket
Yeah.
science. Oops.
No, there just becomes like a declarative fact that I made this, I put this out into the
Yeah.
world, I shared this, end of story. And then what happens afterwards is not really my business, right?
Yeah.
And I've received a lot of emails over the years on like a methodology around things. So I've had like now 13 plus years of emails challenging that or better alternatives or saying this is an original and this isn't whatever. And it's just, and you just learn how to just get comfortable going, yes, like, but I think that you're right. I see the people being precious about whether it's Flash and this is the thing. And be proud of that thing.
Yeah.
Be proud of the work that you do in that thing. Be proud of your expertise, but know that you're a lot bigger than that, and that this stuff is a transmission, and it's an additive and growing and contributing in these layers of just everything sitting on top of each other. You don't get that if you clutch your pearls. If you try to go cease and desist letters and stuff. Get over it. Yeah, it's crazy.
Because the other thing is also you should be thinking of other ideas. If you're just holding on to that one idea.
Well, that's it. That's just it. Yeah, it's just that's to invoke Brian Eno. It's like I don't want to go look backwards, which I think is really funny. To come back to that, because I think that's fascinating. It's a commendable position, and I understand the idea. I don't want to like necessarily be the one in the limelight or whatever, or to go backwards. But you also, at the beginning of our conversation, talked about this thing, the microphone, and talked to my pal Rebecca Garza Bortman, who, amongst other things, made like YouTube's logo.
Wow.
So. But she and her husband are amazing musicians.
Yeah.
And she talked about, just as stuck with me, I like think about it a lot whenever I'm recording, is she's just like, my grandkids will know what I sounded like, what I exist, like that I existed. They will know, they'll be able to connect with me through that. Like for someone as amazing as Brian Eno, to be able to encapsulate at least that, and then that could then serve as the creative like launch pad for so many people. Like that's why you look backwards, or that's why you like spend the time to do that archival. Is like, how do you put it into a vessel that can continue, just like the generative art itself?
Yeah,
just like continue to give.
Yeah, definitely.
Beautiful.
Yeah, that's the idea. I don't think we'll ever stop making versions of it. It's going to run and run.
It should.
Yeah. We're constantly adding footage to it. Yeah.
It's so cool. Yeah. It's so cool. How many projects do you have that are like humming along, or do you like run them for a stretch and then stop them? Like generative projects.
Separate projects. Probably right now there is 4 or 5 that we're working on outside of my own art practice. So I've got a solo show coming up at the end of the year. I've just got an email about another one that I'm with the same gallery, that I'm a group show that I've been invited to be part of. So I need to do something for that. Yeah, but the bigger projects, probably about 4 or 5.
Amazing.
And there's a few others that we're talking about, but they're all very different to each other.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Could you speak a little bit to that? You're describing a breadth, right? There's like creative depth and expertise, but there's like breadth, and you're like just touching all of these different mediums. Do you feel like you grew into that, or did you always just go, I'm just going to make stuff and it's going to show up in many different ways?
Yeah.
In many different formats and outputs.
Yeah, it wasn't planned. There was no strategy. It was only because I didn't know what I wanted to do. When I left school, I didn't go to college or university, and I became a photographer for a while because my dad was a photographer. So I got a job in a newspaper. And then I was already learning how to code. I had Sinclair ZX81 in the 80s. And that's what taught me how to code, or I taught myself. And then I did a sound engineering course. And because at the time computers were just coming in, Cubase and Akai samplers, the mono samplers, the S1000, things like that, the MC202, Roland, and all those kind of things, they were just really starting to happen. And I was like, I can program computers and I like computers. So now let's use a computer to make some music.
Yeah.
Then I got a record contract and put out like 3 singles during the rave scene and all that kind of stuff. But at the time, I wasn't earning any money. So I got a job in a factory just making circuit boards. And I was there for 8 years till I was 29. So, yeah, I was really struggling to make a career in anything, really. I thought I'm just going to be in this rest of my life. And then this amazing thing called the web came along. This is 96 when I found it. And I just rang up a local web design company that had just appeared. It was about 30 miles away. And they just took me on as a chance because I could do a bit of this thing called JavaScript. I ended up becoming the art director there because I was into graphic design, discovered this thing called Photoshop. But it was all because of computers. So I left the factory and took like a 50% drop in wages because I have an amazing wife, Lisa. She was like, this is your way out of the factory. You got to go for it. And then the rest is history kind of thing. But yeah, I guess it comes from the different mediums thing. Is just I love art forms in different, I love a book, I love cinema, I love music, so why can't I manifest these things in different ways? The thing is, a lot of the stuff that I do now, it all starts from a digital thing, but as you've seen, it becomes a newspaper, or it becomes it could be a vinyl record, it could be a print, it could be a feature film. So yeah, I think I just get bored quite quick. Even though I do want to go deep on stuff, that is very true. But I'm just curious as to go, what if we did a book? Or what if we did a book where the cover is different every time? Or what if we curate a show in New York at the end of the year? What if the show could change every day? How do you do that?
How do you do that?
Is it possible? Yeah. So yeah, you know what? You just ask yourself questions, don't you? That's what.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that.
Right.
I think that a whole journey, especially like the fact that it wasn't like, yes, just right off to the races in the creative professions, but I'm sure all the while like tinkering in the background, but that ability to be like computer, general purpose technology, you could point it at different things. Oh, here's music, could do that. But then it's like, here's websites, there's that. And it's that transferable knowledge that once you do that once or twice, then you're like, okay, to do that. But for me, it took a while because I did go deep into a realm and I continue to feel that gravitational pull of this is what people expect of me, or this is this thing, and it's the thing that's feeding my family and the rest of it. And so even though I have these interests, I would not allow myself to fully act on it or embrace it fully.
Is that a decision that makes you happy or not?
I will say that I'm now in a place that is maybe a little closer to what you've been describing, but like for the longest time, I wouldn't dare call myself an artist aside from just doing that stuff on the side and for fun. I didn't go to art school, and like in my level of like deep expertise, I didn't feel that imposter syndrome, but I was like, even being a musician, I'm like, I like play music, but I don't know if I would really call myself a proper musician or a proper artist or a proper whatever, allow myself all of that stuff, all of the other vast creative landscape because I was like, I am this, and the path has kind of led me down this road kind of at the expense of the others. But just now, as in like 2 days ago, I'm no longer going to be doing client work in the digital realm anymore, which it just opens the door to what can be. And so to hear you just describing your path to just allowing it all in,
Yeah, and there is reality from
Helpful.
crashing in. Of course it does. Like I said, at the time, I had to be able to buy a house and get married. And so I took a really terrible job that I did I thought I was going to be there a week and I was there 8 years. As long as you don't lose that thought of, I'm going to get out of here. And the thing was, when I left that factory, I still remember this moment. I left, and on the foreman, who I'd been working with for years, all he said to me was, "You'll be back." That's all he said to me. Even in
That sounds like the most like British factory stereotype I've ever.
Yeah. And I was just like, okay. And of course, but you know what? There's a bit of me sometimes where I have a false memory going, did I go back? And of course, sometimes I have to ask, did I go back? And they went, no. But there's like a false memory stuff in there somewhere. I think I did go back.
Oh.
But yeah, so because it was just that born from jealousy or whatever, or God, someone's got out of here. Rather than going, good luck, he just said that. But anyway, but so you just, and that would then drive you on to go, I'm gonna do this. But yeah, a lot of my stuff has been, I always say it's predicated on the generosity of others. People have given me chances, whether it's, they've given me a room so I could attend a conference in New York or speak at that conference. I could room with them or things like that. Yeah, you've always got to be, and you try and give that back and try and help people when you're in that position to do. But there was no plan as such. Sure.
Yeah. And again, getting comfortable with that idea, because at the end of the day, so many people are like, that person's got it all figured out. It's like, dude, everybody is winging it.
Absolutely.
Everybody's winging it at the end of the day. So it's like you just gotta get comfortable with that discomfort and just go forward, let the curiosity guide you, but also at a personal level, let yourself be your full self and to not go, would love to do this, A through Z, but, duty calls. Again, that's real. But that doesn't mean that you actually shut it out.
No.
It might mean that it's like on ice, or it might mean that's not what you're going to be doing for a living. But there's a big difference between going, I can't focus there. I can't prioritize that right now, but don't like fully chop it off. Like I don't think that's an idea.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
Brendan, this has been awesome, man. Thank you much for taking the time. I've been thinking about you so much, like before even watching the Eno movie, I've been thinking about you in this moment in time, like that fluidity between stitching the different mediums and the different things together in like cool and creative ways, and like ending up with, oh man, that works. Like that shouldn't work, but that freaking works. That's amazing. But so as it's all been just these, these one thing up to another, I'm like, Brendan. So by the time I had that moment watching the film, I was just like, oh my God, we got to catch up.
Oh, thank you. It's been an absolute pleasure. And it's great to hear the stuff you're doing and the stuff you're putting out there and the thinking. I think it's great. So keep it coming, man.
Thank you. Plenty of inspiration. So you keep doing your things. I'm looking forward to CN screaming at the next whatever's to come, or maybe the robot that comes to kill me will have my your face name inscribed on it. So the only structure to the show is just the first question and this one, which is, what music would you love more people to know about, to listen to?
Okay, I've got some vinyl just here, right? So shall I plug?
Please.
Right, okay. I'm gonna grab them. Let's see what we've got. Loads of Coltrane. Right, okay. It's probably the best Jam album. The Sound Effects by the Jam.
Okay.
Paul Weller. And on is Start, and That's Entertainment. Probably couple of the best songs the Jam ever did. These are all like, I'm not going to give you any new stuff, by the way. So Human League.
That's fine.
Yeah.
Hell, oh man.
So Sound of the Crowd, still one of the best songs ever. Love Action. Fleetwood Mac, Get Out. Don't know why that's in there. No, it's good. James Brown. So this is the one with Funky Drummer on it, as you no doubt.
Yeah.
But that is quite a hard album to get hold of, right? What else have I got? I've got one that came today, So I try and buy the original pressings, and I've got a very eclectic taste.
Amazing.
So I've got like Sister Sledge, We Are Family. This is the one with
Beautiful.
He's the Greatest Dancer, probably the best dance record ever made. The worst dance record ever made
Amazing.
is How Will I Know by Whitney Houston. That's a pile of dog shit. So anyway, and then, so I've also got the less sort more British bands, Suede, Dogman Star. This is a masterpiece.
Oh, yes.
That's a masterpiece.
Yes.
That's the best album Suede ever made. I'm ruining the order of these albums, by the way. That's my favorite.
How do you usually have them ordered?
I have them ordered
How do you
by
usually
artists,
have them ordered?
so I have it all in Discogs because I'm a geek, and then it gives
Yep.
me the order, and the one of the best
Oh, yeah.
Prince albums.
Classic.
Yeah, I Want to Be Your Lover is an amazing.
That's what all Prince, I think that
Yeah.
he really underscores the point of being able to embrace new technology, just master it, and the art is enhanced by
Yeah.
versus
He
you know,
was
detracted from it.
He wrote it, produced it, played it, all his right. It's just
Stunning.
boggles my mind. But yeah, so that's
Yeah.
say if there's anything else that's particularly interesting. Yeah, Talking Heads remaining. Oh, I got to shout out, haven't we? The Undertones
Yeah.
first album, and this has got all the amazing songs on it. Jimmy, stuff like that. It hasn't got Teenage Kicks. So Teenage Kicks came out as a single, and then they put it on the album.
Okay.
Yeah. So anyway, bit of geeky trivia.
Did you have to play it cool? Like, how did you play it with Brian Eno? Just from someone who really appreciates music, so you got the records on the shelf. Like, how did that go? Were you?
Yeah,
were you
no,
just-
we didn't really talk about music as such. I was kind of slightly in awe of him, but we just talked as normal people. We
Yeah.
were just, and he's such a lovely guy. He's just very down to earth.
Yeah.
A lot of these
Yeah.
people are. It's usually the people around them that are not great.
Yeah,
No?
that's right. Once those kind of like walls come
Yeah.
up, that's imbalance. It gets in the way of the collaboration. I
Yeah.
think especially it's if you're able to like translate it into like the respect that doesn't even need to be spoken about,
Yeah.
then you're just able to get on with it, you
Yeah.
know? So
Yeah, definitely.
that's
Yeah.
freaking awesome. Amazing. All right, dude, thank you so much for that tour and for the system behind the tour. That's and I guess like the last thing is if people want to follow along with you, like where's the best place that you're
Yeah.
most active?
I update my blog pretty much every week, so I write up what I'm doing. I try and some weeks I miss, but like you, I try and keep my website with my own. No one can tell me what to write. It's just mine, and no one can turn it off. So it's really important. Everyone should have their own website. So it's very
Hell yeah.
important. So there, brendandawes.com, but also just Brendan Dawes, all one word, on Instagram. Follow me there because I constantly post experiments and stuff. And Blue Sky, I'm on there as well. So yeah, those are the main things.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Awesome. Brendan, I can't thank you enough for talking. This has been like an absolute treat. So thank you.
A pleasure. The pleasure's all been mine, and thanks for inviting me. I saw the one with Mark and was like, I'd love to do that one with Brad because it's such a great conversationalist. Yeah, I'm glad we got to do it, man.
Appreciate it. Thank you. And thanks everybody for listening. So take care.